Hello and welcome to another tutorial from CamiPaige Boutique. I'm Brooke Tannehill and today I'm going to show you how I made these custom teacher's gifts. The items we will create are a stapler, eraser, and a pen. If you like this tutorial, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you can see future videos. As always, all the products I used will be listed in the description below. And you may even find a coupon code or two that saves you some coin. Also, come join our exclusive Facebook group where you can take advantage of upcoming freebies and giveaways that you aren't going to want to miss. So without further hesitation, let's go ahead and get started. Here we are going to start with the board eraser. I just got these from Amazon and I will place the link down below because it was a really great deal for how many erasers that you got for the price. And I am just roughly kind of sanding the edges of the eraser just to make sure that I've got really good adhesion for the paint and the glitter that we're going to be adding here. So I'm just taking my time, making sure to get into all the nooks and crannies, and then it's time to tape off the edges. Now, we're just taping off these sections because we want to protect the eraser fibers from the paint, the epoxy, and the glitter. However, I did this and it worked just fine, but when I went to remove it, it did pull the eraser apart a little bit. So I think you would be better off to just place the tape inside of where the wood and the fibers meet, facing outwards with like the sticky side out, and it would work just as well, and then you wouldn't have the issues of the eraser pulling apart like I did. But this is a critical step because you do want to protect that lower part of the eraser because otherwise you'll get epoxy on there and it just won't work. Next, we are going to prep our stapler. So you see, I just pull it there gently from the sides and it just comes apart very easily. I will link this down in the description below, but I'm just going to take some paint and just kind of wrap it around my stapler adapter. The reason why I do this is it just protects the adapter from glitter or epoxy, whatever it might be. You don't have to do this, but this stapler adapter is very well loved. So I just do this extra step and then you just slide it on and it's ready to go. Last and definitely not least is the pen. So this is actually my favorite part of this whole teacher gift. And this pen is actually from Happy Fox. So I will link it down in the description below, but I'm just going to take it apart and set it aside. And then I'm going to sand the stapler and the pen. And this is just to make sure that everything adheres to the surface really well. So I'm just taking my 80 grit sanding block and then roughing it up, spraying it with alcohol and wiping it down. And then we are ready to move on to the pen. So we're just going to do the exact same thing, same sanding block, just kind of roughing up the surface and making sure that it is all prepped and ready for paint. Once I wipe down the pen with alcohol and just gently just kind of clean the surface, I'm gonna grab this little silicone end piece and just slide it into that where the clicker goes into the pen, and this is gonna protect it from epoxy and paint getting down and preventing the pen from working. Now it is time to paint all of our pieces. So this is Vintage Cottage from Miss Lillian's No Wax Chalk Paints. I love this color. It is such a soft, just pretty green. And we are just going to use our fluffy Wet n Wild makeup brush and just apply a nice coat of paint over the surface of the eraser first. Then we're going to move on to our other gifts. Now here, I'm only going to show applying one coat of paint. It really only needed one coat of paint, but you could do it 2 coats if you're not getting the coverage that you want, and don't drop your eraser like I just did because it's gonna pull some of the paint off. So just make sure that you got a nice healthy coat over the surface of all your items and then let that dry, and then we can move on to applying our glitter. And for some reason, the video file for me applying the glitter was corrupted, but what I did is I applied glitter glue from Artistry Epoxy over the surface of all of these items and came in with 10, 12, 13 from Peachy Olive Glitter, let that dry, and then I sealed it twice with Rust-Oleum Clear Gloss Spray Paint, just like I do my tumblers, and then I'm gonna walk you through how I went about epoxying these for the first round. I know a lot of people like to use UV resin for pens, but it just does not work for me. It gets wavy, lumpy, bumpy. So this is just Artistry's regular 1-to-1 formula epoxy. And I'm just coming in and doing a healthy coat over the entire surface of the pen. And then I'm going to put it on its adapter and let it turn. I feel like this gives me flawless coverage and it's just a lot prettier pen by just using epoxy versus UV resin. We're going to do the same thing with the stapler. Again, you can use UV resin. I just was not happy with the way it covered. I was getting wavy lines. It just wasn't cute. So this is the same batch of Artistry's regular 1-to-1 formula, and I'm just coming in and covering the entire stapler. I'm also going to take my time making sure to get the underbelly of the stapler and all of the sides. And this extra time spent really helps to give you a beautiful finished product. I'll show you how to get this off the adapter in a second, so don't worry about possibly epoxying it to the adapter. But I'm just going to take my time, make sure I have wonderful coverage, use my torch to pop any bubbles, and then I'm going to put it on my turner and let it spin until it's dry. Last but not least, and certainly the easiest, is the eraser. So again, same batch of the regular 1-to-1 epoxy, and I'm just going to come in and cover all of the glitter that you see there. I love this color green. This 10, 12, 13 from Peachy is just so beautiful. It's one of my favorites. But I'm just going to apply the epoxy into all of the grooves. Again, you can see kind of why it's so important to have the tape on the eraser, but I'm just going to make sure to apply the epoxy, but I'm also going to come back in and make sure that I don't have too much in certain spots, because we do want to prevent any pooling that might occur and just get that nice seamless coverage that we want over the entire surface of this eraser. After those are dry, I am going to do a second coat on all 3 of the items, let that dry, and then it's time to move into our decals. These flowers are from AB Designs Co., and I am just sizing these after I cut it out from the sheet to the side, and I'm just going to make a line down the middle of the decal. So I'm going to go in here and make sure that it's nice and cut, and this allows me to apply these beautiful florals to any kind of item without bubbles underneath it. So you can see here, I'm going to get it all lined up, fold it up just a little bit there, and then I'm going to come in with my squeegee, also from AB Designs Co., and just apply that floral to the surface of this eraser. What this does is it prevents any bubbles from popping up underneath the floral decals, and it just gives such flawless application that I really love this hack, and I'm actually going to use it to apply the decals to the stapler here in a second. But next up is the pen. So on this same sheet from AB Designs Co., there are these beautiful little flowers. And so they were perfect to put at the top and bottom of this pen. So I just cut them out. And then again, I'm going to just cut the backing of that paper, make sure that I've got it nice and cut. And it really, really, really helps to apply these decals to this pen. So I'm just going to line it up, hold it in that one spot, remove the paper backing, and then the squeegee is a little bit big here, but I'm just going to use my fingers to push off the paper backing and apply it to the pen. So you can see just how perfect the placement is and how easy that glides on. After I've got it on the bottom rim, we're going to do it at the top again with that little slit made into the back of the paper backing. And then we are just going to apply this at the top part of the pen where like the little clicker part is, and just wrap it around until it meets. So again, look how cute that is. They were the perfect size, and I love it paired with this glitter. Last but not least is the stapler. And for the stapler, we use a little bit of a brighter toned floral, but I think it's absolutely perfect. So I cut that little bit of the paper backing, and then I just applied it on that section. And then I'm going to do it on the other side as well. So this one is going to fully wrap around the stapler, and that was the look that I wanted to go for. If you wanted to use smaller florals, you absolutely can. This just helped me to really make a visual impact with the stapler. So I'm just applying it on the top, and then I'm going to roll it around on the sides and get it nice and adhere to that surface. I am going to come in with my X-Acto knife and kind of trim up any of the pieces that might overlap the bottom. Like you can see there, I actually had a little bit of a crinkle, and it was my fault, but I'm just going to cut out any of the crinkles that I added, pop any bubbles again, because like on the side parts, but just make sure that this is good and adhered. On that corner, it didn't like it because it was kind of wrapping around 3 different vertices. So I'm just using my X-Acto knife to kind of cut off the excess clear that is applied, and then just lay down the leaves from this floral decal. Now, I promised I was going to show you how to remove the stapler from the attachment. So I'm just going to come in with my heat gun and just kind of heat it up just a little bit. And then I'm going to run my X-Acto knife down the side, and it creates nice crisp lines that help the stapler to come right off. So this hack is definitely from Jennifer when she was visiting me. So thank you, Jennifer. But you can see I just run my stapler, or not my stapler, my X-Acto knife down the sides of the stapler, and it pops right off, and it's just perfect. And I love how this look came to be. Let's apply the names to the items. So I will list the sizes in which I cut the names down below. You can just measure the size of your item, but I am using textured vinyl from Cricut. This is the platinum color, and I'm just applying it to the pen and then to the eraser, just kind of eyeballing it. I'm sure there's a more scientific way to do this, but I'm just going to kind of line it up and then lay it down. And then it was time for the stapler. I feel like if anything could go wrong during this tutorial, it definitely happened with the stapler, because this just turned out beautifully. But I went to apply the last name to the stapler, and then the Mrs. part of this decal just had a mind of its own. So I'm just kind of pulling off the paper backing, using my favorite transfer tape from Vinyl Fun for Everyone, but it just didn't want to come off. And then static, yeah, you saw it right there. You saw it. It just wasn't cute, but I'm just using my X-Acto knife to pull off the misses, and I'm just going to kind of lay it down onto the stapler in the janky way. Didn't work, so I just applied it to the transfer tape. Didn't line it up perfectly, but it worked out in the end. But I'm just going to line up the atoms, because we know that that cut very nicely. So I'm just going to stick that on. And then I'm going to come in with the Mrs. part and line it up with the last name that we applied, and then just make sure that I got it into place. And then look, you would have never known that I was on the struggle bus. Now I'm going to show you this, but don't do it. I tried to just use UV resin to seal in the decals. It didn't turn out nicely. So I'm just going to apply it, and I thought, hey, this would work out great and cut a step and shorten time. No, don't do it. But I'm just taking the Peduo. Now, I do love this UV resin, but just not on these projects. But I just applied a nice thin coat over the entire surface of the pen. And then I did let it kind of cure underneath the UV light. But after it was done, I'm like, I can't send this out the door like this. So I actually came in with another coat of Artistry's 1:1 regular formula, and it worked like a dream. So I'm also showing this here in case you want to know how I applied it. Came in with a Peduo and just did a nice coat over the entire surface of the stapler. Again, I do not recommend doing this, but if this is how you prefer to apply it, you absolutely can. But I'm just using a finger cut and just applying a thin coat of the Peduo UV resin over the entire surface of the stapler. But I did end up coming in with a coat of regular epoxy on the stapler, the eraser, and then everything was done, and it came out beautifully. I am obsessed with how these turned out. So definitely go the route of regular epoxy, because the shine and just everything brings the whole look together. I hope this tutorial inspires you, and I can't wait to see what you create. If you have any questions about any of the steps or information, please feel free to reach out, and I'll be more than happy to help. As always, thank you for watching. It really means a lot to me. If you like this tutorial, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you can see future videos. You can also ring the bell so you're notified of all future cut making goodies. Thank you again. I love you guys. Bye.